The following day draped London in an ominous veil, unfurling an eerie shroud of grey that seemed to cling oppressively to the city beneath. It was as though the very air had turned taut with apprehension, humming with an electrified current reminiscent of the moments before a train pulls into the station. A strange, charged sensation setting your nerves on end accompanied by a palpable suction in the air that feels inexplicably ethereal, an incongruity recapitulated by the ominous display of rats disappearing as though someone just called last orders at the local fromagerie and you somehow missed the memo. In short, it had been an odd start to any morning, the kind of oddness that makes you reconsider any ambitious plans for the day. Entranced by the peculiar nebulous scene that had been lingering all day, Muriel stood transfixed at the window. Tentatively breaking the silence, her voice trembled with unease as she uttered, "It's only 2 o'clock, Aziraphale. Why is it so dark already?" Aziraphale lifted his focus from the books he was carefully restacking, his sombre expression reflecting the enormity of their immediate concerns as a faint tremor rumbled beneath their feet. "Time," he responded, his words laden with unease, "is running out, I'm afraid. We must act swiftly if we are to stave off this impending catastrophe." His posture seemed to sigh in sympathy with the gravity to his pronouncement. The tinkling of the bookshop's bell announced Crowley's return, snapping Aziraphale from his grave contemplation. His arrival bringing with it a sense of urgency that matched the foreboding outside. "Can't linger, Angel," he announced pithily, glancing at Aziraphale with a meaningful look. "The changing skies out there has stirred up quite a kerfuffle with the higher-ups. I've a hunch it won't be long before even Satan himself gets wind of it. The sands of time are slipping away pretty quickly." Aziraphale nodded, his features etched with a profound sense of duty. "Time is a luxury we can no longer afford." Muriel, her gaze still fixated on the tempestuous skies, murmured, "No. I don't think anyone has much time left." She turned her attention back to the gathering in the shop and spread their research over the desk. With a sense of urgency, she began recounting their findings once more, each revelation pouring forth in a rapid succession of murmurs, nods, and repetitive inquiries that had already danced through their collective minds countless times before. As another profound silence settled upon the room, Muriel ruminated aloud, "It seems that as we have the key, all we need to do is activate it. But the question remains," Crowley mused, "how can we make the key work?" His brow furrowed as he began pacing, extending a lean finger with each pronouncement as if checking off points from his mental list of thoughts. The scroll made it abundantly clear that human touch wouldn't activate it. "Our suspicions point to Raphael probably performing a miracle to make it work the last time." Resting his pacing, a glint of optimism brightened his serpentine eyes as he focused on Aziraphale. During the he gestured vaguely with his hand to coax the memory forward, "When we performed that half-miracle together last year, didn't you mention that your lot registered a total of 25 Lazari?" He leaned in, seeking a response from his angelic counterpart. "That's more powerful than a single archangel. What if, just what if, it would simply take both of us performing a miracle together to trigger it? Maybe we don't need Raphael. After all, we did manage to successfully conceal Gabriel from both heaven and hell's detection when we performed that miracle together." Aziraphale's countenance suddenly brightened with a glimmer of enlightenment. "Just as Muriel deliberated, we do indeed hold the key, and all that remains is to unlock it." He knit his eyebrows in concentration, pondering the intricacies of the situation. "Well, I suppose it is worth a try." His eyes flickered through unseen complexities before finally resting resolutely on the unassuming figurine. Their unspoken agreement settled, they stood to attention, assuming positions in the center of the shop akin to athletes poised for a race. Holding the effigy between them in outstretched hands, they exchanged glances of unwavering determination. "Ready, Angel?" Crowley inquired. "On 3, Aziraphale affirmed. They counted, 1, 2, 3, but alas, nothing transpired. Muriel, her hope undiminished, gazed between them eagerly. "How will we know if it worked?" Crowley offered a sardonic grin. "I'm inclined to believe it wouldn't continue to resemble a chewed-up piece of rock." And, just for the sake of argument, I suspect the sky wouldn't persist in looking like the harbinger of doom about to obliterate all of humanity. Aziraphale cast him a reproachful glance. I believe it's safe to say our attempt fell short. Muriel interjected with a pensive tone, is it possible that we need an archangel, any archangel, to unlock the key? She quickly backtracked, a hint of concern in her voice, no offense intended, Aziraphale. It just seems, from what you've described, that maybe it's possible that Gabriel might have acted as some sort of conduit during your miracle last time. Aziraphale offered a reassuring smile as he replied, none taken, my dear. While I may have the title of Archangel bestowed upon me by the Metatron, I must admit my abilities hardly measure up to those of my esteemed peers. He contemplated her words for a moment before continuing, it's a plausible theory, Muriel. Perhaps it was the combined power of all three of us that created such an exceptional outcome on that occasion. But given our current circumstances, finding another willing archangel, his words trailed off, leaving the unspoken challenges hanging heavily in the air. Crowley sighed wryly. Which brings us back to the conundrum of finding Raphael. Despair weighed heavily on Aziraphale's features. Indeed, he agreed, bobbing in harmony with the group's collective sense of despondency. Indeed, he repeated. As he mulled their situation, a faint glimmer of hope stirred within. What if we could locate Gabriel? I fear, Crowley muttered with a resigned tone, that finding Gabriel will prove as likely as catching a malignant spirit with a fishing net. Remember, he learned from us. He's more than adept at concealing himself, he would have made sure that heaven and hell are entirely blind to his presence. Our chances of tracking him are slimmer than, something very slim. Raphael, on the other hand. Aziraphale completed Crowley's thought in a despondent tone. I agree, my dear. Raphael remains our best, albeit uncertain, hope. Yet, even in that pursuit, we find ourselves caught in a maddening loop, like passengers on an eternal merry-go-round, spinning endlessly without respite. That's the sum of what we've got though, Muriel admitted with a weary shrug, her exhaustion evident as she added, I don't think there's anything more we can get from this. Her hand swept over the cluttered desk, indicating to the disarray of scattered notes and papers. Aziraphale concluded with a contemplative tone, indeed, for the moment, our best course is to maintain appearances and persist in the search for Raphael. There are undoubtedly stones yet unturned. I have a few ideas left to explore. Time is what we need, my dear friends. As the ground trembled once more, papers scattered from the desk, and a fresh cloud of dust swirled around them, Crowley's voice took on a sombre and ominous tone. Time, he muttered, is a resource we find ourselves desperately short of. A silent exchange of meaningful glances unfolded between them, their eyes conveying volumes of unspoken thoughts. The evening's revelations had left them with more questions than answers. Yet, following a period of introspection and a recapitulation of the evening's revelations, their conversation swiftly dwindled, reminiscent of the fading embers of a dying fire. It was clear that Aziraphale had to return to heaven to avoid arousing suspicion among the heavens, and Crowley had a similar obligation in hell. They knew that they had to play their roles convincingly to buy more time and continue their quest. Meanwhile, Muriel was left behind on Earth once again, burdened with a sense of impending doom, the weight of uncertainty pressing in from all sides.